Singer at Acme Wellness Center in Qigong, Australia. I have a special guest today that I'm interviewing. This is Jimmy Yen from Achieve Integrative Health in Austin, Texas, USA. He is a neurology expert and uses acupuncture to treat neurology. It's a pleasure having you here today, Jimmy. Jimmy, how did you get into acupuncture to begin with, and how did that get you to become a specialist in neurology, which is notoriously difficult conditions to treat?
Yes. Well, thank you, RJ, for having me and interviewing me. And so just tell you a little background about myself. So I got into acupuncture is kind of through my parents, and mostly through my dad. It's a little different story from, stories that I've heard from other acupuncturists where, they've had a personal experience. I think I've had an experience my whole life because my dad and my parents have been health nuts. They're at least for my whole life. And I've always been fed, the health information, like you are what you eat, all this stuff, nutrition information. And actually, when my dad retired, probably 10, 15 years ago, he told me like he wanted to go study acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And he lives in Taipei, Taiwan. And so he actually told me to investigate a school here in Austin, Texas, because I was at UT Austin at that time, pursuing my degree in biochemistry. And he actually told me to investigate an acupuncture school here. And that's how I kind of got my foot in the door. And when I don't know if he did it intentionally, but that's, how I started. It's like, Chinese medicine really came into my radar. And then when I was talking to my parents about it, I realized, a lot of the stuff that my parents have been doing, when I was a kid, what we eat, how, we did things, a lot of it was Chinese medicine already. So it was like part of my culture, and I was already living it without even knowing that I was living it. And so for me, it was kind of a no-brainer that would be the next step. So that's how I started to get into acupuncture. And neurology kind of, it wasn't like I just went into Chinese medicine and saying, okay, I want to do, specialize in neurology. It kind of fell onto my lap in the sense of, I was treating patients. I opened my private practice in Austin, Texas, actually in a suburb called Cedar Park in 2007. And, I was treating a lot of patients. And during that time, I actually started to get a lot of patients with neurological problems. And when I first started, I had to do a lot of research. And like you said, RJ, there's not a lot that can be done for neurological problems. Not a lot because in Western medicine, the main, two types of treatments are, one is medication and one is surgery. And for neurological problems, there's not a lot of surgical, supposedly solutions. So for example, like neuropathy, if the nerve is damaged, there's not a surgery you can do to help revive that nerve. And so surgery wasn't really an option in Western medicine. So then it'd be medications. Well, the medications, what I saw with my patients is they didn't necessarily get great results. Most of them didn't even work. And I'll use, for example, Dystonia, or Tremors. I would say use essential tremors, for example. Essential tremors, they would give medications, anti-seizure medications, but it didn't work. I mean, my patients, they were still tremoring, really bad. And then, as I was learning these neurological disorders, and I was treating, with acupuncture and Chinese medicine, I started to see something that was pretty miraculous. It was, these patients who've had this for, 5-10 years with treatments of acupuncture treatments, they actually started to improve. Like the people with the tremors, the tremors is probably the most noticeable one because their hands are actually trembling, right? And so when we were doing the treatments, I would see a month later, the tremors are actually less. And I would actually have, the patients, I would have them get a piece of paper and a pen for the tremors, and I would have them draw like a circle like this And theirs would, mine is really smooth, but when you're tremoring, this is what you see. This is what you end up seeing with the tremors, or the essential tremors, right? It's so, because they're trembling, they can't write. And so after, a few months of treatments, I was seeing that their circle was becoming closer to mine. And I was like, man, acupuncture and Chinese medicine is so powerful for neurological conditions. There's so many. There's headaches, there's migraines, people go to neurologists for migraines. And sometimes, the Botox injections that people get, it helps, but it doesn't eliminate the migraine. The migraines will still come back when the Botox wears off, right? And so then that really piqued my interest. And the fact that I saw so great results with neurological problems, that I decided to really focus my attention on these, neurology, the neurology disorders, right? And that kind of led to, I started getting better results, great results, and especially with neuropathy. I saw phenomenal results, especially with chemotherapy-induced neuropathy. And I actually had a patient come in who had, he had neuropathy, but he also had dystonia, and I was treating him, and after a month or so, he was getting so great results. He was able to walk, a lot better than he used to, and he was actually part of a nonprofit organization, and it's called the Neuropathy Alliance of Texas. So it's a nonprofit organization to help. It's a support group for people who suffer with neuropathy or any type of neurological problems. And he invited me to go speak to this group. And I went to the group and I spoke, and a lot of the patients, decided to give acupuncture a try. And just one after the other, I was getting great results. And so I was getting so good results that finally their board of directors, they were forming a medical advisory committee, and they asked me to be on their medical advisory committee. Obviously, I was super, stoked and excited about that, humbled by that. And so along with, they also had 3 other neurologists, 3 to 4, there used to be 3 or 4, of the Austin, my city's top neurologists on that board. And I was the only acupuncturist on that board. And so that, just from there, it just kept on taking off, that now, I treat a lot of different types of neurological problems.
Mm-hmm. And I know you use acupuncture. Do you use other tools? Because this is notoriously really difficult diseases. I understand that acupuncture is really good for, stimulating the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. But a lot of these people have compromised digestive systems and other things that may be hindering it as well. So I'm just curious, what else do you use?
Yeah, so for people who don't know about Chinese medicine is a holistic medicine, which means we treat the whole body. It's not like, okay, you have neuropathy in your hands and feet, then we only focus on the hands and feet, right? So if every that's the study, the practice of Chinese medicine. And so we do focus on, I would say one of the reasons why we get phenomenal results is we don't just focus on the hands and feet, or the dystonia, the neck, the head, or migraines. We just focus on the head. We look at what is the cause. So I know many people say they focus on the cause, but in our clinics, what we do what we have seen that the cause is organ dysfunction. So organ dysfunction is basically, our bodies heal naturally through our organs. It's our organ function that helps our body heal. And if one organ doesn't do its job, then that's going to affect every part of the body, right? And so we dive deep into finding out. We have diagnostic tools, and I can talk about that a little bit. We have diagnostic tools that we use to detect which organs are dysfunctioning. And once we find out which organs dysfunctioning, then we create a plan focused on getting those organs to function better. Because when those organs function better, then patients with nerve damage like neuropathy, those nerves start to regrow, okay? And their numbness, tingling, and pain start to go away. Migraines start to go away. Bell's palsy function starts to occur, right? And so the way we do that, one is through acupuncture, two is through nutrition. Because what acupuncture does two things. I like to tell our patients, acupuncture has two functions. Number one, it moves your blood. So depending on where we put the needles, we can move your blood circulation anywhere we want in your body, okay? So why would we want to do that? Because everything is in your blood. You think about it. The number one nutrient every cell in your body needs is oxygen. Without oxygen, we can't live. And oxygen is carried through the blood, right? In our red blood cells, right? Also, all of our nutrients that we eat, right? It gets absorbed, it goes through the blood. And something else is in the blood. It's called waste. Waste is also carried through the blood. Waste is carried temporarily in the blood, then it drains out to the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system basically is our drainage system, our gutter sewer system. That sewer system then puts it to the kidneys and the bowels. And so by moving, the simple act of moving blood circulation to a specific organ or a specific part of the body, then we're able to bring nutrition to that area. And we're also, at the same time, able to help it eliminate waste from that area, right? Just like you and me, we need to eat and poop every day. Every single cell in our body needs to do the exact same thing. So that's the first thing acupuncture does, is it moves your blood. The second thing it can do is it can help retrain your brain to do it by itself. And that's the beauty of Chinese medicine, is we have the ability to retrain the brain to basically start healing. These people with chronic degenerative neurological problems, their brain has decided that, okay, I don't want to heal. I don't want to heal the hands. I don't want to heal the feet. I don't want to heal the neck. I don't want to heal the head. And so that's why these patients have chronic pain or chronic numbness, chronic disease, right? And so our focus is on finding, those organs that are dysfunction and help bring the nutrition to those organs. Those organs will eat and poop correctly, and then they'll start functioning. When they start functioning, then the nerves get better, the muscles get better, the tendons get better, the pain starts to go away. And I would say that's, part of it. We also have different other treatment modalities and treatment systems for specific disorders, right? So we treat a lot of neuropathy. So for neuropathy, we also use, technology. So technology is one technology we use is called Rebuilder Medical. So that's kind of like a TENS unit, but it's a TENS unit with a feedback system, which is different from a regular TENS unit. It actually gets a feedback from your brain as to which wavelength it needs to send the electric communication. So let me explain that. So a typical TENS unit is like, let's say our nerves communicate at this wavelength. A TENS unit communicates at this wavelength. It has to be stronger than our nerve. So when we're in pain, this TENS unit will suppress this wavelength, and that's how it numbs the pain, okay? But it doesn't really do anything to restore nerve function. So the Rebuilder Medical is a feedback TENS unit where it communicates at the same wavelength as our nerves. So it's sending messages the same to our brain and telling our brain, hey, you need to, communicate with the feet, with the hands, and so forth. So that's one technology we use. Another one that we use is called an anodyne infrared therapy. So it's an infrared light, right? And so it was actually created by NASA. NASA actually created it to help their astronauts. When they were in space, if they have any wounds, they use this light therapy to help promote healing of the wounds, okay? And going back to the Rebuilder Medical, the Rebuilder Medical actually is being used currently in the US, in the United States, by a hospital group called the Cancer Centers of America. So they treat cancer, and they use this Rebuilder on their cancer treatments, on the patient, sorry. And then the last therapy that we also use is vibration therapy, okay? Vibration therapy, we have a vibration plate. And so I found this interesting enough was when I was visiting one of my patients who he was coming in for trigeminal neuralgia, which is a neurological problem too, but he also had problems walking, okay? And so he was going to an equine therapy center. So basically they put him on horses and basically it helps them learn how to walk, right? And so I was visiting him in his center one time, and then I saw on the floor, there was this big, long black plate. And I was asking, some of the employees, the workers there, I was like, what is this for? And they said, oh, it's for the horses. And I was like, for what? And it's like, why would you want to vibrate a horse? Okay. And so they said, it's to help them heal their infections. So the horses, whenever they get the infections in the hooves, instead of giving them antibiotics, what they do is they put the horse on the vibration plate, specifically long enough for the horse. And they put it on there, and it actually helps them. It helps circulate. See, circulation. It helps circulate so that they can get rid of the infection naturally. So I was like, okay, like a light bulb went off. I was like, if that can work for horses, why can't it work for humans? And so I went to the company that sold it for the horses, and they sell it for humans. So that's how I got the vibration plate for our clinics. And so we put our patients, not just for neurological problems, but any like pain, atrophy, actually a lot of disorders. We put our patients on the vibration plate, and the vibration creates a lymphatic drainage of circulation, and also blood circulation too. So those are the most common tools that we use for neurological problems.
In your experience, how fast do people start getting results, and how long do they have to see you for?
Great question. So I'm going to give the generic answer. It depends, okay, like everybody does, but I'm going to answer that in more detail. It really does depend, because depending on, I'll just use neuropathy as an example. So neuropathy, depends on when, and I'll use specific, chemotherapy-induced neuropathy. So this specific example, because we treat a ton of these type of patients, and so it depends on when they got the chemotherapy, so and how much of the chemotherapy they got, right? Some people have had 6 months of chemotherapy, so that's a lot of toxins killing your nerves, right? And so then it'll depend on when they came to get acupuncture. So as a general basis, I will say this: the sooner they come in, the sooner they get results, okay? And the results that I'm talking about is the restoration of their nerve function, because majority of chemotherapy will cause neuropathy. So for those of y'all who don't know what neuropathy is nerve damage. Your nerves are actually getting killed by chemotherapy. And so when they get killed, that's when you start feeling the pain, tingling, and eventually numbness. Numbness is the worst. And so if you come and get treatments right when you start chemotherapy, then there is a higher percentage chance that I will be able to reverse close to 90% of the nerve function, okay? Now, again, it depends on how much chemo you've had, how long leave the chemo, so it's not always the case. But what is always the case is the sooner you start the acupuncture and the treatments at my clinic for the neuropathy, the more nerve function we can restore, okay? Now, how long will it take? It depends because on how long you need the chemotherapy. Some people have only done it for, like I had one patient that did it on for 4 weeks, right? So for that situation, it took about a month for them to really see, actually, I would say 2 weeks for you to feel some difference, okay? Because we usually will do a test to make sure that the acupuncture will work for you. So after 2 weeks, you'll see a difference in regards to numbness. With pain, almost, I would say 90% of the time, people feel a reduction in their pain at the time of the treatment. So so again, it depends on the case because of also the symptom. So if it's pain, you'll notice a little relief faster. If pain and tingling, you notice a little relief faster. Numbness takes time because numbness, the nerves are already dead. But even with numbness, after 2 weeks, most of our patients they start to feel their feet or their hands a little more after 2 weeks, right? But to really get maximum benefit, it could take up to 3 to 6 months of treatments, right? But like, again, it really depends on how long you've had it, the neuropathy, when did you get the chemotherapy, how much of the chemotherapy. I wish there was a cookie cutter way, and there isn't. And that's probably why we do get a lot of great success, is because our treatments are customized for that patient specifically, okay? And so, yeah, it could be short. I would say you could see some relief within probably 2 weeks. And then to get a big resolution, that could be 3 months, it could be 6 months. But I would say usually between 3 to 6 months, we see great results.
That's some really important information that you gave out, is that the sooner you see yourself or someone else that can treat these conditions, the better your results are going to be. Imagine if we were in the hospitals seeing people, the results we would get. You've made a lot of relationships with a lot of MDs and MD neurology specialists that refer to you because of your results. Is that right?
Yeah. So many of my city's top neurologists refer patients, and we co-treat them together, because I'm not saying that Chinese medicine is the cure-all, fix-all. We work with neurologists, and that's why I have a good relationship with a neurologist, is because they have something that I don't have, which is diagnostic tools. Like, for example, a nerve conduction test. I can't do that. I need to know that. Nerve conduction test is very important because it's going to let me know if your large fiber nerves are damaged. If your large fiber nerves are damaged, okay, then the chance of me helping you reverse, a lot of the nerve damage is going to decrease significantly, okay? And then they can do blood tests. So remember, organ function. Organ function, we also rely upon blood tests. Blood tests can tell us a lot about the organ function. It doesn't tell us everything, but it gives us a big piece of the puzzle. And so I can't prescribe that. So therefore, the neurologists, they can, actually in Texas, we have labs that you can do it by yourself, okay? But in general, physicians are the one here in Texas that, prescribe the lab test, right? And then there's sometimes, there's autoimmune conditions, and they do have a treatment that does help sometimes. Like autoimmune conditions, they do an infusion called IVIG, immunoglobulin infusions. And that does help some patients, and it actually helps my treatments work even better. So it's not, if you have neurological problems, you do not have to choose Western medicine or Chinese medicine. No, you want to choose both. Together, you're going to get the best results in the shortest amount of time.
You mentioned earlier that you have some unique diagnostic tools yourself as well. What are those?
Great question. So we merge technology of today with technology of 3,000 years ago. So the technology that was discovered 3,000 years ago is called pulse diagnosis. Pulse diagnosis basically is, since 3,000 years ago, they didn't have nerve conduction tests, so they needed a way to figure out what's going on in your body, which organs aren't functioning correctly. So they found out 3,000 years ago that different sections of your radial pulse actually corresponds to different organs in your body. And since there's blood flowing in your radial pulse, by me palpating your pulse, I can feel the blood circulation going to every single organ in your body. And that lets me know which organs are not doing their jobs, okay? So that gives me a piece of the puzzle. Because remember, we're all, when I treat our patients, we are focused on restoring organ function. So in order to restore organ function, you got to figure out which organ's not functioning correctly, right? So we use that way. One way, I call it functional pulse diagnosis. And then we use labs, okay, the blood labs. And then we also have a technology of today, of this century, and it's called thermography. So we actually have a medical infrared thermography camera. And so thermography detects infrared heat that comes out of our bodies. It just naturally comes out of our bodies, okay? You couldn't stop it even if you wanted to. Now, how do we get that infrared heat? That infrared heat is generated through our blood circulation. So the infrared thermography gives us an insight as to how your blood is circulating throughout your whole body. And we've scanned so many different like neuropathy cases, but even with other neurological problems like Bell's palsy, we typically see when there's nerve damage or the nerve is dysfunctioning, those areas will actually show up cold, like blue, black, cold. So the feet, we'll see in the hands, they'll be like, in the thermography scan, they'll be missing, they'll be all black. And then we have like a Bell's palsy patient, her face, the side that had the Bell's palsy was all cold compared to the other side. And so it's because our nerves control the blood circulation. So if your nerve is damaged, it's going to affect your blood circulation. So I would say those are the two main technologies that we use, diagnostic tools that we use to help us find that root cause.
Mm-hmm. Wow, amazing. Such good information. I think a lot of people that are watching this that are suffering with neurological conditions, they also want to know, is there something that you would recommend that they can do themselves that can improve things?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do educate our patients about home health. Home health is key because no one's going to care more about your own health than you, okay? We do care about your health, but you should care about your health more than we do, okay? If we care about your health more than you do, that may be a problem, okay? So we do offer, we do go over diet. Diet is huge. We go over diet with everybody, okay? Diet is huge. What you eat, what you put in your mouth, that's the nutrition that's going in your blood. So diet is vitally important. So that's part of the home health that we go over. And also, there are some type of exercises. We go over lifestyle changes, exercise changes. Those are also very super vitally important, right? And we discuss that. Through our pulse, okay, I can detect how the organs are functioning and is your body strong enough to do a certain type of exercise. So after I feel the pulse, I will tell my patients, okay, right now, your body can only tolerate this type of exercise. So this is what I want you to do right now. And then when the pulse changes, that means your organ function changes, then you'll be able to do different types of exercise. So we monitor that with our patients, okay? And then the last thing, this is something exciting and something new that I'm starting to build, is we're gonna start offering at home what I call acupressure home training. And that way that patients can do it at home. So it doesn't matter that they're not getting treatments at the clinic, they can still continue the treatments at home, okay? And then we're also coming out with some neuropathy at home programs too, because with today's technology, there's a lot of things they can do. There's certain, like some of the equipment that the treatments that we provide in our clinic can actually be done at home. So we're going to start formulating an at-home neuropathy program. So, if you know of someone who is struggling from neuropathy, definitely have them contact us, have them subscribe to our YouTube page, or like our Facebook page, because we're going to bring this out, this home neuropathy program very soon.
Oh, amazing. And how do they find that?
Yeah, they can find us on Facebook, Achieve Integrative Health. They can also find us on YouTube, okay? YouTube, you can go also to Achieve Integrative Health. We also have a separate station called Achieve 10X TV. But I would just say YouTube, Facebook, just type in Achieve Integrative Health, and you can get hooked up with us.
Oh, amazing. I really hope people reach out and contact you because it's such a terrible disease,
yeah.
and you can really help people, and I really hope people contact you. It's been a pleasure having you. Really great information, really passionate about what you're treating, and it really shows. So thank you, Jimmy. It's a pleasure having you today.
Thank you, RJ.